Wendy with a notebook, Wendy with a pen, digging through the dark where the secrets been. Questions fly like bullets, truth cuts deep in the shadows where nightmares creep. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. The fire in their veins and the trust in their eyes. Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Clues left scattered like whispers in the wind. Every page they turn closer to the end. No stone unturned, no mystery safe. Through the chaos they pave the way. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. The fire in their veins and distrust in their eyes. Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Clues left scattered like whispers in the wind. Every page they turn closer to the end. No stone unturned, no mystery safe. Through the chaos they pave the way. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. The fire in their veins and the trust in their eyes. Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Late nights burn bright under the moon. Answers buried deep, they'll find them soon. Guts and glory on a darkened stage. Randy and Wendy script the final page.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Pammy B, you feeling better? Hey, Pam Malone. More than enough. Good to see you.
Yes. How is everybody?
It's already been a long day. I'm nobody, Charlie Manson. Hey, Nevaeh.
Nobody. I know when he says it so creepy too. Nobody. I'm nobody. You're a creep.
Hey,
That's who you are.
I know. I still wish we could have interviewed him. It is freaking cold. I had to get out in it today and
What do you want to ask him?
how? Why? What happened? You know, I'm just so many things.
So you want the tea.
Are you sorry? Yeah,
You want the tea. That's what you want.
the tea. Hey, Melissa. Feel great. Just woke up from a nappy nap. Oh, hey, Emerald Girl. Somebody else is wanting a nappy nap. So,
Oh, hi, little girl. That nappy nap sounds so good. All right, let's get on with this trial. I've been waiting all day. Let's go, girl.
all right, let me rewind
I've been
it.
very good. I've not been peeking. I heard
I
one
haven't.
little thing in the clip, and then that was it. I didn't watch anything.
I peeked.
I've been being paid.
I'm trying to see. Let's see. Does he go on the stand and then, or do I need to? Well, let me just pull it in and then you can tell me.
Well, probably just go through the big one.
Huh?
I just go probably for the main one. Yeah, is that what you're asking? Never
What?
mind. You got it. Nothing. Never mind.
Yeah. He's about to.
He's
He
about
got
to
really
what?
start giving the.
But are we going to watch the cross examination?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. That's what I was asking was because I missed that part.
Yes,
Is
we
it
need to watch the cross
Is
examination.
it before this?
Well, I don't know because I didn't watch any of the trial. I just saw the clip of the cross examination. So what I was saying was pull in the main one through Court TV, the one that's been running all day.
That's this one.
Well, okay, and then let's zoom through it till we get to the stuff that we want.
Okay, I don't know what's happening right now.
Thank you.
Y'all have been.
All right, so we're gonna have to start from, sadly, the beginning.
But we're gonna zoom through it because there's
Yes.
not a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna zoom right
And
through
we
it.
zoom through every break, all the breaks that they have.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Stealing Merv's content. What?
Oh God, that's us.
Yeah. Let me full screen this.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I see everybody right here safely. We're going to continue with the case. Cross-examination. Mr. Hughes. And Mr. Hughes, I will remind you that you're still under oath.
I understand.
What'd he say?
I don't know. Rewind it.
Oh, get over there, Randall.
Remind you that you're still under oath.
I
Oh,
understand.
he just said, I'm going to remind you that you're still under oath. I thought it was going to be much.
It's gonna remind you to keep your damn mouth shut.
Yes. Cooperate.
Follow the rules. He got 6 months contempt of court for his shenanigans yesterday. Love it.
Look, this judge has those same glasses that other judge has.
They shop at the Chuckle Hut together.
They,
They must
that
get
was
that in
so
the
good.
gift-
That was good. That was
They
good.
must get that in the gift shop.
They must. Let me give that out in the
Chuckle Hut gift
swag
shop.
bags at the
That's right, the
judge
swag
table.
bags. The swag bags at the Chuckle Hut.
The judge looks worried.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I would say he's earned that.
Yeah.
That is State's Exhibit 66 up there on the overhead.
So this is cross.
Mr. Hughes,
Yes.
when you dragged Christina Parcell across the floor of the front room where you killed her, did you drag her by her arm or by her ankle?
Damn.
I don't remember for certain, but I think by the ankle.
How would you not remember that?
You remember.
That's all the questions I need to ask this, Your Honor.
That's it. That was
Boom.
it. We saw that coming, Randy. We both said
Yeah,
that.
we did
yesterday.
see that coming.
They're
We
not
did.
gonna ask shit. Not a thing. Get him down, Your Honor.
Let's get him up there, admit to murder one more time, and
Yeah,
absolutely
and then
get
we
him
can
to admit
get him
that
off
he
the damn
pulled.
stand.
Yeah.
And then any kind of like redirect can only be on the topic that they just raised. So they don't want to talk about that. So that's
Right.
it. He's done.
Yeah, what's he supposed to get up there and say? And would you tell them why you didn't want the hand? Because it would be shown in the casket and you wanted it to be nice and lovely. That's that, that what could they do?
Right? Try to make some sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more he talks, the less convinced I am that he didn't completely enjoy this.
Yeah. Just the way he walks. Look, y'all, I hate what the woman did, and I hate what Shamat, and I hate what her boyfriend does. But this guy is not the good guy. He's not.
No. He's a murderer. He's a murderer. He's one player in a very sad story.
Yes.
That's calling him the witnesses.
Your Honor,
And I am aware that you wanted to put additional problems in.
yes, not at this time.
Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you to go back to your jury room, and I'm going to be taking up a few matters, hopefully very quickly.
And I know y'all are shocked, but it wasn't very quickly.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
It's all the live long day. So we're gonna zoom right up past it. Goodbye.
Yeah. And then we go to closing arguments. Here we go, y'all.
We've learned our
I could-
lesson with this damn trial.
Yeah.
If this was one of the trials that I was streaming, I would be crying every day.
Yes.
All these breaks. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't. I'm getting up before dawn for this. It would drive me nuts.
Again.
Statement or closing.
Wait, here we go.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Now I did speed it up to 1.25. Let me know if that's too fast. I can put it on regular.
Okay.
This is the moment where myself and the defense have an opportunity to speak to you directly. It's called our closing statement, our closing arguments. All the evidence that you're going to hear in this case, you've already heard it. It's either sitting right here or it's through testimony that you've already heard.
Hey, Brendan.
So
You
my
did.
goal here is to just talk a little bit about this case with you and sort of explain the state's perspective and how we have proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Zach Hughes did in fact commit the crimes that he's alleged to have
I
committed.
mean,
I'm
okay.
going to go through those crimes a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Did he
And then
get
I'm
out
gonna
there and probably say he did it? I mean, is that really proving? He got up
Right.
there
You
and-
didn't really. You kind of. I mean, you did have some ring door footage, but he did kind of get up there and make it a flex that he did it. So
Yeah, I mean, good job. You did great, but come on, let's be real.
Yeah. We know that you're probably going to retire after this because
You should probably just thank him for the easy job that you had to do for this.
yes,
With the exception of your high blood pressure the other day.
right.
Briefly through the evidence
Skid
and
marks in your
explain
underwear.
my perspective on those things. I will give you a bit of a caveat that this is a little bit of a unique case in that you rarely have the defendant testifying and admitting to the entire crime during the trial. So in that respect, my closing argument may be a little different or maybe a little abnormal than our normal way we do things, but I'm going to do my best. I first want to thank you for your service. It's been a long 2 weeks.
Oh, stop
Y'all have
kissing
been
their ass. I
extremely
wanna go
attentive.
home.
You've paid attention.
Yeah.
You've listened to the judge. And to be frankly, I couldn't ask for a better jury, and I appreciate your service. On behalf of my co-counsel, Mr.
He's
Jake
like,
Hofer,
please don't fail
Mr.
me back
Derek
there.
Sparkman, and
Yeah.
Master Deputy Blake Wolf, we thank you for your service. I told you in my opening statements that once you see and hear all the testimony in this trial, and I did not know that the defendant was going to testify, you're going to find that Zach Hughes, I don't know if you remember what I said, is a cold-blooded killer. And I submit that the state, and along with the testimony of Zach Hughes, we did in fact prove all of that beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, you're not
Zach
wrong.
Hughes is a cold-blooded killer.
He is.
Zach
Mm.
Hughes
Yeah.
is an admitted cold-blooded killer.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, he solved John Mello's problems. So the judge is going to instruct you on the law, and just as we just abide by, we're going to abide by his rulings, you must abide by his instructions. Remember I told you he's the referee, calls balls and strikes, and he also tells us what the rules are, what the law is. Y'all took an oath way long ago than you can probably remember back in last week
Umpire,
on
but
Monday, a week ago. You
referee.
said you would take an oath, you would adhere to his instructions, you would do your duty as jurors, and I have no doubt in my mind that you will absolutely do that. Now, before Zach Hughes admitted to the murder of Christina Parcell, the state called approximately 32 witnesses. We submitted close to 200 exhibits. If you put all this on a hard drive, it's a little over 4 terabytes of information. And all
Damn.
that taken together, it's a lot of evidence to digest. Now, with the admission of Zach Hughes to a lot of the state's case, the questions you were presented with at the beginning of the case really are answered. Regardless of what he may believed in his head, his actions are what matter in this courtroom. Actions speak louder than words. And boy, do we have a lot of cold, calculated, horrific actions in this case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you must find the facts based on the evidence in this trial and solely based on the evidence presented at this trial inside this courtroom. And it's undisputed that Zach Hughes planned, he lay and waited, he broke into Christina Parcell's home with a .22 and a knife. some roses. She had just returned home from an interview, from her last interview with Vet Tech. Zach Hughes, a person she had never met. She had never met him. Beat her with a gun, brutally stabbed her 35 times, severing her jugular vein and her carotid artery. Now, as we go through the evidence and we look at some of the different things, I'm going to ask you to keep in mind of the charges that you're actually looking at. So the first charge I'm going to explain is the harassment charge. And there's two harassment. There's harassment and there's conspiracy to commit harassment. The only difference is that conspiracy requires two or more people joining in to commit the harassment. So harassment is just a pattern of intentional, substantial, and unreasonable intrusion into the private life of a targeted person that serves no legitimate purpose and cause that person and would cause a reasonable person in his position to suffer mental or emotional distress. That's related to all those photos and those documents that you saw mailed out. I think there's 7 envelopes full of photos and other documents. You heard testimony about what was in those. Some of them are in evidence. Some were just described because those were pictures of Christina Parcell without any clothes on. So we didn't introduce those so as not to embarrass her or her family. Burglary first. A person is guilty of burglary first if he enters a dwelling without consent and with the intent to commit a crime.
Thank you, Brittany.
And remind
Thank
you,
you
the
so
judge is
much,
going to tell you all of
Tom.
this. There it is. I'm just trying to give you an outline so you can keep that in mind as we're going through this evidence. And they enter without consent.
You do what?
I'm so sorry. I thought I was muted. That's my bad. I apologize.
Oh no,
Jonathan,
you're fine.
Jonathan was just bringing me something. So sorry about that. Sorry, guys.
Good. You're good. You're good.
And armed with a deadly weapon will cause physical injury. Well, those things all already appeared in this case. Zach Hughes went in under a ruse of roses, according to his own testimony, but he went in directly with the intent to commit harm, and he had weapons on him. And then you've got murder. You also have possession of the weapon during the commission of a violent crime. That is, if you use a weapon and you murder somebody, that is the possession of the weapon during that commission of a violent crime. But you have murder, which is the killing of any person with malice aforethought. Malice aforethought. You're going to hear those words a lot in the judge's instructions. But malice is ill will towards another person, the intentional doing of a wrong act with the intent to inflict injury. And I think I said early on, ladies and gentlemen, it was a depraved heart, an angry heart, with the intent to harm somebody. And there's also express malice, meaning it's expressed. It's right there in front of you. And it's shown when there are words of hatred or when someone prepares to do the act. They prepare to go in there. It's called premeditation is what you'll hear the judge charge you. Premeditation is preparing to go and harm somebody, like lying in wait, like buying weapons beforehand, by concealing your identity, going in there. Those kinds of things are premeditation, things that you do in preparation of the violent act. And if you find those things, and you find the state proved those beyond a reasonable doubt, then you can find the defendant guilty. So before we get in, let's start with a little background now. You know the players, you know everybody involved in here, you know the victim. You've heard a lot about the victim, Christina Parcell. You've heard a lot about John Mello. You've heard a lot about Zach Hughes. And you've heard a lot about Christina Parcell and John Mello's daughter. So the background, and we're talking the time frame from 2020, October 2020-ish, to October 13th, 2021. So we're roughly a time span of 1 year. And what happens throughout that year that leads up to the murder of Christina Parcell? Zach Hughes never talked to Christina Parcell. He didn't know Christina Parcell. He never met Christina Parcell. Everything he knew about Christina Parcell, even according to his own testimony, was told to him by John Mello or shown to him in certain evidence. John Mello was in a nasty custody battle with Christina Parcell. We all know that. He was on his 4th round of custody disputes with Christina Parcell. Keep in mind, and according to the guardian ad litem, the prior 3 were just as nasty, but they'd always been settled where John Mello would have significant custody of their daughter. But in April of 2021, that changed. The tide changed for John Mello because he took Aida out of the country in violation of that order, according to the Italian courts, and he took her to Italy. And Christina Parcell didn't even know about that until she saw a social media post where she realizes my daughter's out of the country, I can't see or talk to her, and she's with her father. Thus, the continuation of this nasty child custody dispute. And then from October to April, Aida was living in Italy with little or no contact with Christina. So what did Christina do? She did what any mother would do, is she tried to get the return of her daughter. So she went through this process, and it was explained by Christina's sister, Tina Parcell, as well as the guardian ad litem, Vanessa Cormelo. She filed under what's called the Hague Convention, and she asked to have her daughter returned to her. She actually flew to Italy twice to have these hearings in Italy. And she was successful. She won that particular battle in this myriad of battles of child custody that have been going on between these two individuals. And so in April of 2021, that really set off John Mello. He was unhappy. And we know the things, and we're going to talk about the things that he did starting that day through the WhatsApps, through the harassment letters, everything else, to solve that custody dispute problem. And that's where this case really, really began. That is when things turned not in favor of Christina Parcell. She lost her life as a result. So what is the relationship between Zach Hughes and John Mello? All right, so where did they all come into this mass of characters? Well, according to Zach, he met John on the streets of Greenville about August of 2020, and he was with Aida, and Zach played a very likable classical music piece that John Mello and Aida liked. And that's how they met. So they met that one time. That was one of the few times that Zach Hughes actually met Aida Mello. And he talked about, they went on about 4 or 5, maybe 6 occasions where they were hanging out. They got some tacos one night. They saw a museum. But Aida Mello didn't know Zach Hughes. She didn't know who he was. She's a 9-year-old little girl who heard him play a piano piece, who's a friend of her dad's. And that's all the time they ever spent together. That's it. In August until October, John Mello left for Italy. And with him went Aida. So Zach Hughes never spent any more time with Aida, what little time he did during that small time, ever, never again. Now, he may have seen her on a FaceTime while he's talking to her dad. You may have seen her or seen videos of that, which he testified to. But Zach acted on this stand as if he could see into her soul. He could see into her eyes. He knew how she was feeling. He could tell that she gained weight and why she gained weight.
He did.
Time in her life, in her adolescent life. He is drawing those conclusions on a little bit of information and nothing but whatever John Mello is feeding him. So, what's their first thing? Aida's back with her mother. She, in May, begins living at Canebrake with her aunt, Tina Parcell, and that's where they're living there. John Mello's in Italy, and Zach Hughes and John Mello decide, well, you know what we're going to do? Let's embarrass Christina Parcell. Let's make her life look bad. Let's make her look like a prostitute. That'll help me get custody of her. That'll help me with the guardian ad litem. And so John Mello, according to Detective Bevel, who testified, had photos, and according to the evidence right here, he had photos of Christina Parcell. And those photos were taken when she was much younger. And those photos are taken between 2 consensual adults engaging in what acts that 2 consensual adults can do. And that's it. And then he took those photos and he used them as a weapon. And he tried to make her look like a prostitute, because that's what John Mello continually told Zach Hughes, according to his own testimony, Alex Field's affidavit. Let's make her look like a prostitute and let's send them around to a neighborhood. Well, they sent them to a neighborhood where Brad Post lived. They didn't even send them to Canebrake. And we know this because in these WhatsApps, they talk about it specifically. They talk about, may I present to you my daughter's mother, Christina, Caroline Warren, escort. And we know there's a bunch of attachments that we can't see because Zach Hughes deleted these on October 13th. And when we retrieve them from WhatsApp, they're deleted. So you have to see us, investigator Spartman, manipulating these WhatsApps. And then they sent them that way. And then Zach Hughes receives them. He gets them. And he sees an email that was sent to him as well. This email is very important. And he prepares all these packages to Brad Post, to Mr. Bradley Post. These are all his P.O. box. Brad Post, cigar bar, where Brad Post hangs out. Misspells Mr. Post one time in the WhatsApps, misspells it here, P-O-A-S-T, which is why we know it. But Zach Hughes admitted it. But this email here purports to come from Mullen Investigations at protonmail.com. And it's cut out. And you've got this photo of Christina Parcell, and you've got another photo of Christina Parcell back there, which is the same ones that are in here, but there's no URL with Bella Donji on right here. And this is the escort site, and it says Caroline Warren. She became a member, Caroline Warren, in 2009. Well, this is 2021. And apparently this Mullen Investigations on May 16th found these photos attached to this website, except the photos don't have anything attached to the website. It's just a square of an escort site of Caroline Warren. I don't know who that is. I know this. I know Caroline Warren. I know Mullen Investigations, John Mello. Vanessa Carmelo testified to it. She received emails from Mullen Investigations. She received lots of emails from people purporting to be John Mello. So Zach Hughes went to the trouble of preparing all these envelopes, manipulating all the items, the photos, the escort, and putting it together. And he wanted to make sure we knew it was her. And so we would add a cover letter. You can see the cover letter that he would do. He had to add a cover letter to make sure you knew exactly who that was, that it was Christina Parcell that was engaging in prostitution. And he sent them out to shame her, to make fun of her. There's WhatsApps in there saying, we're going to ruin her day. And Zach Hughes did it the same way he committed this murder. He used his bike, he avoided cameras, tried to find a location, and he didn't know that we could track his phone. And so we know he was in Greenville when he mailed those in June and July, and he was in Tennessee when the other two were mailed. So we know he did all that. But the big point of the harassment is not that that's bad to do somebody. It's really what Tina Parcell referred to as revenge porn. South Carolina does not have a statute for revenge porn. We have harassment. And that's exactly what that is. But he's really doing it, one, to make her look bad, to make her look like a prostitute. But he's also trying to do it to gain a strategic advantage in this custody battle. And it doesn't work. He even sends one to the guardian ad litem. What does the guardian ad litem do? She investigates everything. But Brad Booth put a lot of work in. Zach Hughes put a lot of work into that. It's a lot of work finding all those envelopes to somebody he doesn't even know. He's never met, never talked to. Now, John Mello, I would say he's pretty much a liar. He dated Christina back in 05 and 06 and had their daughter in 2012. And of course, this custody battle. And if you want to look about the character and who John Mello is, I refer you back to Vanessa Cormelo's testimony. She testified that John Mello would do horrific things in relation to this custody battle. To her, to a lawyer who's representing a little girl as a guardian ad litem who's practicing law for 26 years, he would accuse her of horrific things, according to her. He would accuse her of trafficking children in Spartanburg. He would post things on social media ridiculing her. And that's how John Mello operated. That's how he operated. He used deceit by using fake emails. He used threats to try to get what he wanted. Mullen investigation. He sent those to Vanessa Carmelo. He sent an email pertaining to be a lawyer named Sophia Carlucci, according to Vanessa Carmelo. And she knew it was John Mello writing it because she's read so many emails from him, they matched up. So he's trying to gain a strategic advantage. John Mello and Zach Hughes were trying to harm Christina because John Mello had a custody problem. And the only way to solve it was murder. So Zach visits John for 3 weeks in June in Italy. So he met him for 5 times between August and October 2020. They're having lots of conversations on the WhatsApp, and he's in 3 weeks in June in Italy. And it was a pretty important moment when Zach Hughes said, John Mello offered me $5,000 to kill Christina Parcell. John Mello offered me $10,000 to kill Christina Parcell. Now, of course, Zach said he wouldn't take that money. He would just do it for free. Because killing Christina Parcell is the right thing to do. So I submit that's when the plot to murder Christina Parcell began. That's kind of when this evolved. And I think they started with the photos, which were in June and July, but that wasn't going to carry any weight with anything. Interesting that a struggling pianist turned down $10,000 to do it for free. Especially
Exactly, Melinda.
of a person he's never met on behalf of a little girl he barely knows. Now, much of what Zach Hughes said I believe on that stand was true. I think a lot of it was a bunch of self-serving, narcissistic junk. Zach Hughes is trying to portray himself on that stand as a hero instead of the cold-blooded killer that he is. Ladies and gentlemen, we judge the defendant by their actions, not by their excuses or their words. Actions speak much louder than any self-serving lies from a sadistic, pathological killer like Zach Hughes. He murdered Christina Parcell, mother to Aida, sister to Dina Parcell, and daughter to Erica and Tim Parcell. Now, I talked a lot about Vanessa Cormolo because she's a key witness, because that is the dispute that we're having, the custody battle. And she's in charge of making recommendations about who should get custody. Her job is to investigate the custodians. She stated that she investigated every allegation which were at Christina, which was involved in prostitution and drugs. She stated she would investigate every allegation, hire private investigators, put trackers on cars, meet with potential custodians, have home visits, and talk with the child constantly. So she's doing everything that she can possibly do. She even had allegations like Alex Fields. There's an affidavit that the defense submitted on Alex Fields, where he says that he was propositioned by Christina Parcell for sex and offered to sell him drugs. And he put in an affidavit. This was after John Mello put on Craigslist, "Do you have any information about Christina Parcell that I know about? I'd like to know anything about," who responds to a Craigslist ad about somebody and then sets an example of what they did at a bar. And for what purpose? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not true. I have no idea. That's what Alex Field says. Really doesn't matter. While the defense wants to impugn the integrity of Christina Parcell as a justification for committing murder, so be it. If doing bad things means anyone can break into my house and stab me 35 times without retribution, then two things will happen. There'll be a lot of people stabbed to death, and I'll be out of a job, because all we'll have is vigilante justice in our system. But again, these are allegations that John Mello is making. He's looking for any dirt on Christina Parcell. Again, these are all allegations. Well, let's come to October. Vanessa Cormolo was getting close to making her decision. Who's going to get custody? Her investigation revealed that before Christina's murder, she would write a favorable report for Christina Parcell and a bad one. That's what Vanessa Cormolo said. In addition, it was almost 6 months since Aida had come home, and that's important. 6 months. Someone can file to terminate the parental rights of another. We were about to be 6 months. Zach Hughes said October was a time that he felt it was the time to kill her. Just felt it in his heart and his mind. And he tried on the 12th, did it on the 13th.
Hey, hold on.
That is important because it was getting close. John Mello's getting a bad report, and things aren't going to go his way, so he's got a problem. Now, if Christina Parcell is no longer around, he's the last man standing. He's going to get custody. So, Zach admittedly decides to murder Christina Parcell. That was his intent. He bought a gun and a knife about a month before. It was weighing on his soul. His custody dispute's not going well. And so he entered into a lot of planning going into this murder, a ton of planning. And the state presented all of this evidence to you before he testified. But we know that Zach Hughes on the 12th was up at the Mountain House because his phone showed that he was up there. And while up there, he had his truck. And we know he put his bike in the back of the truck. And we know he parked it somewhere. And we know that he decided to park somewhere near Cambridge and ride his bike in there. And we didn't know, but we know that he knew the schedule of Christina Parcell that day because he said John Mello told him. So he gets in his truck And I would submit he arrives around 7:42-ish to somewhere wherever he parked. We never learned exactly where he parked near Canebrake, but we know he parked somewhere there, and he rode his bike. Because at 7:42, we know from his phone that he plugs it in and unlocks it. And that's the last activity on his phone at that time. So he parks, maybe he plans, he thinks, and he gets on his bike and he drives in. And we know he drives in because he passes Donna Gorman's house. And Donna Gorman was an early witness from the state. And she did an identification of Zach Hughes from that witness stand. The state was not expecting that. We had never shown her a photo lineup. We'd shown her a photo of the bike, of Zach on the bike from the ring cameras. But she had never seen Zach in person. And so we just left it. Now, we did wait until about 3 years after the murder before Donna Gorman told us that information. That is true. Riley Stokes talked to her that day, and he didn't have a copy of it. Master Deputy Wolf talked to her on the 19th, and he didn't show her a copy of the person on the bike. And so there was so much chaos going on, so many officers moving in so many directions, trying to find the evidence to solve this murder. It was just overlooked. And so when we went and talked to her, this was her testimony. And that's what we presented to this jury. She was right. She was right. The DNA proved it. Zach Hughes proved it. So Donna Gorman sees him, and she says it's around 8:15-ish when he goes by. And then he goes to Christina Parcell's house. And my opinion is that he went and he hid under the bottom of the house. His testimony was different. He says different. He says that he got there and went straight in, dropped his bike, and went to the front door. We have a difference. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe I'm wrong. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Oh, hey, Christine.
But I submit
Good to
he went
see
and he
you.
waited. He had an hour to wait. Of course, he had an hour drive from the mountain house
6
all the way
degrees.
to Canebrake.
Woo.
You know what he could have done? He could have turned around. He could have done anything he wanted. He could have gone to the QT. He could have changed his mind.
24
He had many
degrees here.
opportunities to do that.
Feels
He was
like
committed.
13, it said.
And so he went and he lied and he waited. And he waited for a time because he knew her schedule and he knew her car. He knew her address. That's in evidence. And he went and decided to walk in the front door with roses as a ruse, according to his testimony, with a gun and a knife and a backpack, paint thinner so he could clean up afterwards. And he kills her. So let's see the moments before Christina Parcell is murdered.
He really didn't have to do all this.
Zach Hughes, dressed as he said he was, gray sweatshirt, backpack, black pants, walks directly into that house. I can't see if he's carrying flowers. I know he had flowers on him. And he walks in and he surprises Christina Parcell. Points a gun at her, hits her in the head with the gun. And then he stabs, and he begins to stab, and he begins to slash, and he begins to slash, and he begins to stab, and slash. Now think of the force needed to stab someone in the chest, stabbed him in the back, all over the head. And finally, through all the fighting and the stabbing and the pushing, while Christina is fighting for her life, he finds the vulnerable spots, stabs her in the jugular and the carotid artery, causing her to bleed out. With blunt force trauma to the head, she has to be on the ground. Blood is everywhere, pulling around her dropped phone and the couch. But that's not enough. He drags her through her own blood to cover up the crime as he closes the curtains and locks the front door so he's not detected, as droplets of blood fall from his blood-soaked clothes. She remains laying on that floor in her own blood, with nothing but her blood-soaked scrubs and her wedding band that Brad Bose gave her. his sadistic actions are not over. I submit, ladies and gentlemen, those rose petals had a dual purpose. He may have used them as a ruse to get in and get inside the house so he could surprise Christina and gain that strategic advantage to murder her. But he also sprinkled them around. He sprinkled them around the house, on her purse, around some sort of sadistic, artistic sign that he thought was necessary. Then he had to keep in line with the allegations, prostitution and drugs. Put a bag of cocaine under a couch, under a chair, right down from her body.
Wait, hold on. Did he plant that there?
Plant what?
The cocaine.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't. This is the first I'm hearing about cocaine.
He just said there was cocaine under the chair. He's acting like he planted it there.
It makes sense that he would.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Or it was hers under the chair.
Yeah.
And I think the rose petals absolutely could have been, scattered and thrown around in the fight. It doesn't necessarily mean that he put them anywhere. I don't know. He already comes off creepy enough just by his own testimony, sir. You don't have to make it sound even weirder.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead, make it. I would probably try to make it as weird as I could. Do everything else.
I know, but it sounds desperate almost. Like you've got the law on your side. You don't have to be desperate about it.
That's true.
Unless he doesn't think that the jury's going to go for it. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't trust the jury.
Yeah, he probably is a little nervous about the jury, but the law is clear.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he's got the law on his side. It doesn't have to be, All right, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
I just hadn't heard about the cocaine. That was new.
I hadn't either. No, everybody's shocked about the cocaine.
Yeah.
This was to help John Mello win his custody case. He never told us about the drugs either. Never mentioned those.
Yeah, he didn't say anything about those drugs.
So then the cover-up. So then, after you effectuate the crime, you commit it, then you got to clean.
He was interrupted, so there's that.
He was interrupted?
Well, yeah, when he was in the middle of telling something and he
Oh.
said making stuff. So
Yeah, that's true. He was yelled at a few times. That's true.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't get to it, sir.
And you didn't ask him about it.
Right. You had plenty of time. You was afraid he'd say no, he didn't put it there.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You got to cover up. So you first had to cover up the scene. You had to worry about that DNA under her fingers. That DNA is key to this case. You had to wipe her fingers down with that paint thinner. He did not want to get caught. Pre-planned and then really good exit strategy, cover up. Anyway, back to the mountain house. Of course, we know he's there because his phone puts him there around 1:17. He connects to the Wind Wi-Fi. The Winds have a mountain house. He has access to it. Remember, it's real remote. I think Master Deputy Wolf said it's so remote you could walk around naked. Nobody would see you. Perfect place to clean up a crime scene like that. Can you imagine how soaked in blood his clothes were? Can you imagine how soaked in blood his car was? Can you imagine?
I was just going to say, I bet the truck was filthy.
Yeah. Can you imagine being so dumb that you hooked to the Wi-Fi too?
Yeah, an idiot. You never heard of a burner phone? Dummy.
Fighting back smart-ass statement and moving on.
Moving along swiftly.
Yeah.
Laura Perplex knows about burner phones. You can ask her.
And he did.
And there it is.
Burned his clothes, ditched the knife and the gun in some pond.
I'll say it. I'm happy
Cleaned
to
up
say
everything. And he went back to Tyndall about his daily life.
Oh, you did, Heather King?
That's what he said. I've mentioned Zach Hughes' testimony a lot. And I'm sorry that you had the unfortunate privilege of hearing the specific testimony of the killing of Christina Parcell by a cold-blooded, cold stone-faced killer trying to portray himself as a hero instead of the cold-blooded, calculating killer that he actually is. Only a person with a severely diminished sense of heroism with a heart that is cold as ice can portray that. The absurdity of many of his words.
Hey, sweet crazy. Hey, what did she say?
And I'll reference a couple. I wanted to make her death quick and painless.
He did say that.
Is what he said.
Yeah. I don't know why he
When I
said
was
that.
listening to that, it was hard
So
for
he
me to
chose
comprehend.
stabbing.
30
Someone was
times.
actually saying that at their trial. to the
And
jury.
hitting her in the head. What the hell?
Yeah.
We say thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking my pain into consideration as you murder me. What does that even mean?
I know. What do you want? Pat on the back? Weirdo?
I'll
Yeah.
ask you this.
Good job.
Was it quick and painless when he hit her in the head with a gun? Was it quick and painless when he stabbed her the first time?
No.
Was it quick and painless when he stabbed her the second time? How about the fifth?
You're Randy answering. I love it.
Well, I'm in fear.
Consider it.
Randy's in the jury going, no, sir, it wasn't quick and painless. You're right.
We love you too, sweet crazy. Look,
Hi, sweet crazy. Hi, Dolly. It's okay. It's okay.
I just think every time I hear that someone was stabbed to death, the way you die when you're stabbed to death is you bleed out. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. that's
There's
horrible.
no fast way.
Right. It's a horrible way to die for sure.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. It's awful. Yeah. The amen choir.
Yeah. I got you. I got you on that, sir.
Randy's in the jury box answering the questions. Oh, that was awesome. That was great. Okay. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Maybe the 30th. How about the final 35th blow?
Damn.
And then, of course, I asked him one question.
Yeah, we know chicken shit.
How'd you drag her body across? And
We know.
he said, I don't really recall, but I think it was by her ankles. He looked me in the eyes in a stone cold faced way. Told me the answer.
It's not exactly how that went
Proud.
down, but all right. I mean,
He
it
said,
isn't.
I do not want anyone else to
He
be
didn't say it
involved.
like that.
I waited till everyone was gone. Thanks. Appreciate that.
So you're a good murderer.
Talking like he's doing us a favor.
Right.
I wonder what would happen if a neighbor did come over. I wonder what would happen if Brad Post had showed up. I wonder what would happen if Tina Parcell had showed up.
I'm going to go on a limb and say he would have got his ass kicked.
Would it be a double homicide so we could escape and escape detection?
Yeah, and what would be his excuse then?
And
Yeah.
of course, he was so calculated, he got her schedule that day from John Mello. And then he said, I didn't want to get caught because they would connect me to John Mello.
Is John
How'd
Mello
that
the
work
dad?
out?
So
Hold on.
if you
Is
get caught,
John
you
Mello
solve
the
the
dad?
custody problem.
Yeah.
But if I did get caught,
Hold on, pause. You know he's dying to tell the jury. And you know what? We already arrested John Mello. He got arrested yesterday after that man's testimony. You know he wants to say it so bad.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to leave him out of it, but yet.
But yet, thanks to his testimony, we got him too.
Right.
You know it. You know he wants to say it.
oh, okay. So if you didn't get caught, you solved the custody problem. But if I did get caught, then I didn't solve the custody problem because then they would connect me to John Mello and he wouldn't get custody. Then he comes in here, testifies, connects John Mello.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Sure
Doesn't
did.
make any sense.
doesn't make any sense.
Now,
Right.
he talked a
Right.
good bit about his background. I understand he's a fantastic pianist, highly trained.
He's a creepy motherfucker is what he
He
is.
went through his resume
Yeah.
He's intricate, meticulous.
with an ego, letting you all know how great he really was. Military service,
You're right.
playing these really difficult sonatas by Beethoven.
He's
Until I
right
was
about
16,
that.
Never been
Mhm.
done.
Yeah.
I agree, Holden.
But he described his sister Grace in great detail as well for some reason.
It is. So
He said she was a horrific person when confronted with irrefutable evidence. She would go cold, stone-faced. She would manipulate and recruit others to do a terrible deed. If you trust Grace, you're only going to get hurt again. She was a vampire and would suck the blood right out of you. Maybe he's described himself.
Damn.
He said, I feel pity for her. He felt pity for Christina Parcell. How was that even possible of a human being? His
Yeah, I
heart
don't believe that
so
for
mean,
1 second.
so depraved that he viewed someone he'd never met and discussed the specific details of killing her, treating her like she was an elderly dog being sent to the vet to be euthanized. It doesn't get any meaner than that. Christina Parcell didn't have to die. Zach Hughes had a million opportunities to not do this. And if he did it to save Aida, there's a million ways to handle that. Vigilante justice is not allowed in this state. Vigilante justice isn't allowed anywhere.
Yeah. It's not on this country.
Regardless of what Zach Hughes had in his mind or what he thinks he had into his heart, he's lying to himself. Because all he had was hate and meanness, coldness. He brutally murdered Christina Parcell. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long 2 weeks. I thank you for your service, and I thank you for listening to me. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. I'm going to ask you to go back there and deliberate. I'm going to ask you to find Zach Hughes guilty of harassment, of burglary, of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, and murder. Thank you.
I'm surprised he's not getting abused of a corpse since he tried to clean up her body.
Yeah.
You might as well add that to the list. Look at
He's
him.
not looking
Look at
too
him.
confident.
He's looking a little concerned.
Yeah.
Looking a little concerned, Zachary.
You
Let's
do
Let's
look
start with
concerned.
something that
Can't wait to hear this.
Mr. Wilkins said
What are you going to say
Towards the
now,
beginning.
buddy?
of his comments to you. He said, Zach Hughes solved John Mello's problems. Yesterday, Zach Hughes told you he solved Aida Mello's problems. That's what he told you yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to watch the state. You got to watch the evidence. Zach Hughes yesterday came in here and told you under oath that he killed Christina Parcell on October the 13th, 2021. He told you that. But contrary to what Mr. Wilkins just told you, killing somebody in and of itself is not a crime. Mr. Wilkins told you that he confessed to committing the crime. That is not the case. Yesterday, Zach Hughes told you that he killed Christina Parcell, but in doing that, he did not tell you or confess to any crime. And let me be clear, and let me tell you why I say that. Every crime, and the judge is going to tell you this in the instructions, every crime has two parts in general terms. The actus reus, which is the action, and the mens rea, which is what's in your mind, the intent that the state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's very important that you understand this from the get-go. He did not confess to a crime yesterday. He confessed to killing Christina Parcell, but that in and of itself does not make him guilty of murder. That's very important, okay? The first part of, or Mr. Wilkins had talked about how this case is unique. It is unique. And one of the unique parts about this case is that first part that I talked about, the actus reus, the action that's involved, there's very little dispute, if any. Zach admitted that he killed Christina Parcell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the dispute is, where the heart of this case is the evidence as to what was in Zach's heart, what was in Zach's mind, the state must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt. It must be evidence that leaves you firmly convinced. It must be evidence that would cause you not to hesitate to act. Right? That's what they have to do. So the heart of this whole case, Mr. Wilkinson can talk about the blood, he can talk about the scene, he can talk about all these things. But the heart of this case is the intent, is the mens rea. What have they proven about Zach's intent? All right. Now, let's talk more about what the judge is going to charge on the law and what they have to prove about intent, about the mental side of this. Right. Zach has been charged with murder. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt malice. That is the intent, the knowledge, the mental part of murder. The state must also prove burglary in the first degree, that when he entered that home, he intended to commit a crime. In this case, murder. He intended to commit the crime.
Well, he
which
did.
means there was a crime he committed. For harassment, the state must prove that he sent those mailers, which he admitted to doing. He sent those mailers without a legitimate purpose.
No.
And for the conspiracy, the state must prove that he formed an agreement to do something illegal. That is the mental component to this. And again, that's the heart of the case. And Mr. Wilkins, in his opening statement, said,
Yes,
we have to prove the state beyond a reasonable doubt an angry heart, that Zach was mad. That's where this case, that's where the heart of this case is. What was Zach thinking? What has the state been able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt about what was in his heart and what was in his mind? Now, you're going to hear, the judge is going to talk to you about different types of evidence you can consider. He's going to talk to you about circumstantial evidence, which is evidence that an arrangement of facts when put together that lead to other facts or conclusions. That's circumstantial evidence. Judge is also going to tell you about direct evidence. Direct evidence is evidence that comes from people who perceived what happened, who with their senses derive knowledge about what happened. Right? That is direct evidence. The state has the burden of proof on the mental element, and the state is going to use circumstantial evidence. That's what they're going to use. We have no burden of proof whatsoever.
Hang on.
We entered and are going to use both direct evidence and.
I thought that the state didn't have to prove motive. How could anyone possibly know anybody's state of mind? Why would they have to prove that?
Well, they can't, but there's malice. They do have to prove malice, but usually
35 stab wounds proves malice.
Right. I do too. And I think they did prove it. Just because he got up there and said, you know.
But I've never heard of a prosecution having to prove motive. I've only ever heard. Okay, don't spoil it. If you know the verdict, verdict's in, Randy. All right, well, we'll finish watching this and we can watch the verdict.
Circumstantial evidence to explain
or
Zach's
the
state of mind was in October.
What?
Well, keep this playing and go. You want me to find the verdict?
Yeah.
For the 13th,
all right, I got it.
2021. Now, what is the state going to do to try to prove?
I think I know what it is.
To try to establish the burden of the mental side. Again,
came back
more than just the acts. That's critically important.
Yeah,
but what
that's not good for
him.
Mental component to this. They're going to use the acts, and they're going to say they're going to use the stab wounds, the photos. They're going to use all the actions that Zach testified to yesterday. That in and of itself is not a crime.
Let me pull it in.
And Mr. Wilkins, he talks about.
We'll come back to this after if you want.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go. I don't know why my heart's pounding fast.
I know, because it's big deal. That's not going to be good for him. They came back fast.
Why fast? And they did. They had when we were going live, they had a jury question, which was the difference between first degree and second degree harassment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't understand the harassment stuff, but I didn't hear all of this trial and we watched nothing. I didn't watch anything of the prosecution. So.
Well, he harassed her with those pictures. They were talking about the mailers.
Yeah, but Oh yeah, that's right. He sent out
nude pictures of her and said she was a prostitute.
If you can please.
All right, here we go. I'm going to mute.
Me too.
Thank you, Pammy B.
He's rocking. He don't look like he's gonna be all right.
No.
Your Honor, these are case numbers 2024 GS 23 2194, 5425A, 5413, 5412. As to the charge of murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of burglary first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of harassment first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of harassment second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. As to the charge of conspiracy to commit harassment first degree, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. As to the charge of conspiracy to commit harassment second degree, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. Signed by our foreperson. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is a verdict you reached in your deliberation room and this is still your verdict now, please raise your right hand. Thank you.
Anything to say?
No, please stay. Nothing as relates to the jury.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've told you this before, and on behalf of the state of South Carolina and Greenville County, I want to thank you for all of your service for the last 2 weeks. I know this has demanded a lot from you. You all have been extremely attentive. I know that this has not been easy. I'm going to ask you now if you will go back to the jury room, and I will be back there in just a moment to talk to you, okay?
Now I wonder when we do sentencing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You take these things.
Your Honor, at this time, I would just make a request that sentencing be deferred to give defense counsel more of an opportunity to present mitigation.
Mitigation?
Your Honor, we would oppose that request. We would ask that you would proceed to sentencing.
There you go. Thank you. They don't need any mitigation.
15 minutes. You fill out the sentencing sheets. Do you feel like you need a little bit more? But I'm going to sentence them within the next
30 minutes.
Thank you, Your Honor. The other thing.
Are you making noise?
No,
Okay, that's not you. That's them then.
I thought that was you.
No, it's not me.
Oh, I saw that, Holden.
Can't hear them.
Okay, and your motion is denied. You're protected on the record. The only other thing that I need to do is just, and I had discussed this with counsel, as far as the verdict form up at the top, it just needs to be amended to read 2022 GS 23002194, and then it will be 2024 5425A, 2024 5413, and 2024 5412. I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record. It was just more of a typographical
A lot of numbers.
form instead of the two.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We have no objection.
No objection.
What?
Hmm.
And I'll just write on here.
I wonder if he's genuinely shocked. I think he is.
I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking.
Don't they say
I
my
think
gate?
he's thinking he's going to be in jail for the rest of his natural born life. That's what I'm thinking.
I think death penalty's on the table for this.
Damn.
Thank you. All right, we'll be back in 30 minutes, 15
30
minutes.
minutes. 15 minutes, maybe. Okay.
15
I'm going to
minutes.
keep this
Okay.
rolling.
All right.
Let's go back and finish the defense closing while we're waiting. I'll
Okay.
keep this open in case they come back early, and then we'll switch to it again. Damn. Bye-bye, Zach. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Look at them all bawling their eyes out like they didn't see this coming. Stop it. Stop it.
I don't mean they're not hurt. That's their family, their brother, their son.
No, he's a murderer.
I'll tell you who's not mad. His sister. What's her name? Carla? I don't remember now.
I don't even remember. I don't remember either. Grace?
Grace.
I don't know why I remembered that. That was Jesus. I have no explanation. I have no explanation for how I just pulled that out of my ass.
Yeah, she's
Couldn't
doing
tell you
a little
anything about
dance
Grace.
right now. She is.
You know who also is not too happy with him is the dad. All right.
Right.
I'll keep this running on my end in case anything happens, and if it does, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Stab, and I wrote this down. Stab, 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 slash. Right? You gotta watch. Gotta be careful, right? This is a tragic case. Bottom line, someone died. The last thing I ever want to do is minimize the tragedy in this case. Not gonna do it. All right. But when we come to talk to you about what happened, you have to have faith that what we are saying is balanced. Think about what Zach testified to and what Claire Rose testified to about Christina Parcell and what happened that day, right? Stab, 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 slash, slash, slash. Claire Rose testified Christina Parcell was 163 pounds. Zach testified that he was 160 pounds. Claire Rose testified that there were, of the 35 wounds, the vast majority were incised wounds. Superficial wounds, wounds that would have been consistent with a struggle. Zach told you that when he went inside, there was a struggle. He told you that they fell to the floor. He told you that when he got inside, his body would not do what he was telling it to do because he didn't want to do it. He did not want to have to do it.
So he did it 31 times.
So let's talk about the circumstantial
The
evidence
number keeps changing.
that the state has
That number keeps changing. Prosecution said 35, but I've heard everywhere from 30, 31, more than 30, 35. I don't know if anyone even knows. It's crazy.
Yeah.
offered as evidence to try to get you to understand what was in Zach's mind. The state talks about, and in determining how much weight to give to their representations about their conclusions on the circumstantial evidence, just think about this. Donna Gorman testified that 3 years after this happened, having never been shown a photo lineup, with Zach's face all over the television and the internet, that she says that she saw Zach. Now, here's what is most troublesome about this whole thing. She testified that she saw Zach at 8:15. That's what she testified to. She testified she saw Zach through 2 trees in her house, that he was wearing a hoodie, no evidence other than what she said about a hoodie. In fact, Zach said that he was wearing a hat or a smaller hat. There is no way that she could have seen Zach Hughes at 8:15, because by the state's own evidence, with the ring cameras, with investigator Sparkman, the state's own evidence, Zach didn't even get there until after 9 o'clock. So when he says, Donna Gorman, she saw him, it's impossible that she saw him the way she said, because she said 8:15 by their own admission, by their own evidence. Zach didn't even get there until after 9 o'clock. Think about that. In determining how much weight to give to their spin on the circumstantial evidence, think about investigator Sparkman, right? Called him as a witness and showed him reams of WhatsApp messages. These messages were garbled, but he had a unique skill. I don't know if he went to WhatsApp school, but he spoke fluent WhatsApp, right? And he was asked to decode all of these messages for you as though you couldn't have done it yourself. But what's the most interesting thing about what he said in the WhatsApp messages, there was one message that he was not able to decode, coincidentally. The message that had the words Aida and doomed. That was the only message he could not uncode for some reason. Think about that. In trying to determine how much weight to assign to the state's conclusions or their spin on the evidence, think about Vanessa Cormelo and what she testified to. Mr. Wilkins talked about how she was doing everything she could during this period to uncover it. Really interesting. And the judge is going to tell you this. You can determine or decide how much weight to give.
Nanya, I did see that. It kind of makes me sad. She doesn't seem like she's doing great, so I hope she changes her mind about streaming.
To testimony. You can give it a lot of weight, you can give it a little weight, you can give it no weight. I want you to think about how much weight to assign to the state's conclusions in that testimony, because I want to take you to one specific exchange between Jake Hofferth and Vanessa Cormelo. Jake Hofferth asked Ms. Cormelo prior to October the 13th, 2021, and he said this, and they've said this throughout this entire case, prior to the murder of Christina Parcell, which is for you to decide and you to decide alone. Prior to October 13th, 2021, did you have a recommendation as to where Aida Mello should live? In other words, would you have had a recommendation as to whether or not she lived with her mother? And what was Vanessa Cormelo's answer to that? And you can hear this for yourself. At the time, I would have recommended the mom. At the time. There was no follow-up to talk about other times. Can you trust that evidence? Very important. That's a circumstantial evidence. Now, let's talk about the direct evidence that you received from Zach himself as to why he did what he did. He got on that stand, he told you. Let's talk about the direct evidence. He talked about what he knew, what he was told by John Mello. That was part of it. He talked about that. But contrary to what Mr. Wilkins said, he had a lot of other information besides just what John Mello told him. He had a deposition that Christina Parcell gave under oath in July of 2016. And you remember I asked him, after you read that deposition, what did you believe about Christina Parcell? What did you believe? He said he believed that she was engaged in prostitution. He said he believed that she had participated in a pornographic movie. He said that he believed that she had used drugs after reading that deposition. Another document that Zach got, Alex Fields' affidavit. Now, this is very important to consider about this. This entire case, the state has worked very hard to distance Christina Parcell from the escort website. And they've made these conclusions just because they want to. Despite the fact that there are website addresses on those photographs, they have insisted that those photographs were private photographs, were taken by John Mello and then somehow put on the internet by John Mello, that she had nothing to do with that, right? Think about this. And this is an evidence for you to consider. The Alex Fields affidavit, it has one page on the front, which is what he said, that they met randomly at Halls in 2018, that she propositioned him for sex and drugs in exchange for money. He turned that down. But in the second page of the affidavit for Alex Fields, John Mello, in that advertisement, said, if you know this woman, her name is Christina Parcell, and then he puts the Caroline Warren alias in that ad. Right? Here's the question for you to consider. If he didn't think that she really and truly went by Caroline Warren online, why would he put Caroline Warren's name in an ad for people to respond to? Why would he include that if he did not think that may trigger someone who had seen her site? Why would he do that? I would submit to you, he put her name on that ad because she was Caroline Warren, and he was hopeful that someone who had seen the ad or used the ad would recognize the picture and contact him. That's the only reason why that makes sense. Let's talk about the other evidence, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's just talk about that Mr. Wilkins discussed, the planning, right? Let's talk about that. Zach was very honest when he testified about the planning. He told you in detail what he did. In a lot of cases, planning can be good evidence. In a lot of cases, as Mr. Wilkins said, this is a very unique case, and probably one of the most unique aspects about this case is that the person who Zach believed posed the danger was the mother to her own child. Think about that. This isn't where you're home and an intruder comes in, you don't know, it's a spur of the moment. This isn't a random interaction or difficulty. This is what Zach believed. This is a mother, the person who's charged with caring for your child. Most importantly, the person of all on the whole planet who is supposed to be the most nurturing. This is the person who is doing this to the child. The person who lives with the child, the evidence was the person who shared a room with the child, the person who's with the child all the time. So in a situation like that, where you have a belief that's grounded on documents, that's grounded on information shared with you over many, many months, when you have that belief, how do you alleviate that threat, the threat from the mom, without thinking through how to do it? How do you do that? And so I would submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the planning in this case, unlike most any other case, doesn't show malice because the mom was the threat. The mom was the one who posed the danger. Mr. Wilkins talked a lot about this was just interjecting in the custody, just get John custody, get him custody, right? If this was all about the custody, why would Zach have waited so long to do it? Right? Part of it, he was in the process. Part of it, he was working on this music project. But the other part is Aida and John were separated for half a year, right? If Zach wanted to fix it to solve John's problem, he would have done it much sooner. But the reason why it took so long is that Zach agonized over it. What do I do? Over time, he continued to get information. What do I do? He didn't want to do it. If he wanted to do it, he would have done it right away. And he told you that when he testified. He told you in detail about that day. He told you about it. About when he woke up, he drove to that location and he thought he was going to throw up. He told you about his hand shaking. He told you about when he got out and got on his bike, it was one pedal in front of the other, just trying to make it there. He told you about this, and you saw him testify. He's, contrary to what Mr. Wilkins said, he doesn't think he's a hero. He's never asked that. He did what he believed he had to do.
Oh, he did want to be seen as a hero. Yes, he
An
did.
innocent child. That's what he did. That's why it's more than just the action. He hasn't confessed to any crime.
Yes,
he
he
told
did.
you what he did, and he told you the truth about what he did.
Pause for a second.
Okay.
I just, I feel like he's looking this jury dead in the eye and asking them to come back saying it's okay that this man murdered a woman.
Yeah.
I don't know how you ask that with a straight face. I'm amazed that these words are even coming out of his mouth. Hey, Bob and Lola's journey. Good to see you, hon.
Hey,
Like,
good to see you.
He sounds ridiculous. Anyways, keep going. This is ridiculous.
He means it too. That's the crazy thing.
If Mr. Wilkins talked about solving John's problem, right? And he intimated in his closing that an aspiring or starving, I can't remember what he used, pianist would turn down $10,000. Interesting. As though to say he didn't turn it down. There's no evidence anywhere that John Mello ever paid him a dime to do this.
Or that he offered it.
Gotta watch the state, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there's his testimony that he offered it, but I guess maybe not any other proof. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lot of in the state's closing, lot of moral indignation. That, what do you mean try to be humane? Who can say that? How does that even mean, right? I was
He's
not in
stabbed her
Zach's shoes.
31 times.
Nobody was in Zach's shoes
Yeah.
but Zach.
I think it's a valid question.
Nobody was. None of us has been in a circumstance where we have reason to believe an innocent child is being abused by her own mother.
That's not
Her
true. I've
father
been in that
is
situation.
out of
Fuck this guy. I've been in that
country.
situation. I've been in that
Mhm.
situation where I knew a child was being abused at home. I didn't go murder anybody. There's authorities for that. You go through the proper channels. You know what Zach never testified to? His long conversations with the police.
Right.
Where were those? Where were your constant messages and calls reporting this? No, nowhere. Shut up.
Evidence is shown with a warrant pending, can't come back. When you write an affidavit to try to put the authorities on notice as to what you believe is happening, when you call DSS and DSS does nothing, none of us have been presented with that circumstance. Mr. Wilkins said, we can't condone vigilante justice.
No,
That's what he said.
we can't.
He said, if you find him not guilty, I'm going to be out of a job. Right? It's really interesting. The state wants you to be a legislature and make decisions for the people of the state in law and order. But they don't want you to be a jury when it comes to deciding how the law applies to the facts. Because they just want you to assume he's already confessed to it, he's guilty of a crime. They use the word murder throughout, which is a legal phrase, which is an offense that you have to find. So they want you to speak for the people of the whole state, but they don't want you to really look at the evidence. And that's what we're asking for. That's just what we're asking for. Mr. Wilkins said he could have done other things. This didn't have to happen. Okay. The judge will not instruct you that Zach Hughes had a burden to exhaust all remedies, to try everything he could to do. He tried a lot. He wrote the affidavit, went to DSS, did a lot of different things, but there's absolutely no requirement. We have no burden whatsoever. Just to continue to remind you that we have no burden whatsoever. The burden is on the state, and there's no burden whatsoever for me as Zach Hughes' representative to try to prove to you that he exhausted every remedy. That's just not what the law says. You don't need to even consider that.
Straight to murder.
The evidence is that Zach tried. And when everything failed, that's when he acted to do what he thought was right, and that is, and was, to save Aida Mello. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you for saying her name repeatedly.
And I don't have it your task. I don't at all. It's a tall task.
Right.
But I do think
right. You're asking them to go back there and say it's okay that he stabbed someone 30 times. That's what you're.
Mailers, this piece of the case is a little bit easier for you to resolve, and let me tell you why. The judge is going to tell you that for it to be harassment, a couple things have to happen. First,
It was
the
harassment.
person who was the target of the harassment, in this case, Christina Parcell, who's alleged in the indictment, the state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she actually suffered mental distress and that a reasonable person would have done so in that circumstance. But there has to be evidence that she actually suffered distress, mental distress. There is almost zero evidence that she actually experienced mental distress in this case, right? Let me talk more about that in specifics. There were at least 3 people who testified for the state who were with her when she gave the letters, those envelopes to law enforcement. At least 3 people: Brad Post, Dan Bevel, Mike Nicholson. Did any of those people testify that she was remotely upset? Any of those people say that she cried? Any of those people say that she was shaking? Any of those people say that she had made statements that led them to believe she was upset?
Okay.
Zero evidence that shows, or that even comes close to proving, that Christina Parcell was upset. And if anything, the evidence you've seen that has been introduced with nude photos of Christina Parcell online, with Alex Fields' affidavit, I think the evidence shows took a lot to get her upset or be in mental distress. So I would submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, on the harassment charge, that's something that you could go to initially and think about that evidence And based on your recollection of the evidence, if you find that there's no evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she was in mental distress, then that's your answer on that charge right there. It's the state's burden of proof on each and every element. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the state has brought us here. And they brought the charges that you are to consider. They've decided what to charge, and they have brought us here on these specific charges. And the charges they brought, specifically the charge of murder, is among the most serious charges there is. Doesn't get any more serious than that. Murder, the charge of murder, in contrast to what the state's position is, requires more than the act of killing another person. It requires malice. Malice is defined, and the judge is going to define this for you, as evil, as hatred. In his opening statement, Mr. Wilkins told you an angry heart, mad.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you that the evidence in this case has failed to show you that you should be firmly convinced that Zach Hughes had hatred. You can be shown pictures and talked all about the acts, but when it comes to what he was thinking, what the evidence shows that was in his heart, that evidence hasn't come close. Ladies and gentlemen, in hindsight, 3 years after this happened.
Can I just say that he does not seem okay with even what he's saying.
I know he keeps clearing his throat. I have a feeling that's a tell. I think he's choking. He's choking on his own damn words. He knows he sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, his tongue, his mouth is dry.
Yeah.
It's very fair for you to say this didn't happen, or this didn't have to happen, or disagree. I wouldn't have done that. Some of you may say you would have. Some of you may say you wouldn't. That's fair. Bottom line, can't say otherwise. But no matter what,
he is struggling.
Yeah.
No matter what your take on what he did, I think it's so important that we rely on your common sense. And that was one of the things that Mr. Wilkins talked about early on, that how important your common sense is that you bring with you. And so in closing, I'm going to ask that you use your common sense that you brought with you to the courthouse and just ask yourself, does a person who kills another person with the intent to save an innocent child, does that person have evil in their heart? Does that person have an angry heart? Ladies and gentlemen, I would suggest to you that your common sense would tell you no. And that person who killed another to save an innocent child is not a murderer. I would ask that you return a not guilty verdict. Thank you very much.
Go get you some water, sir. You are struggling over there, poor guy. Do you need a lozenge or something? My gosh.
Yeah.
Help this poor man. Give him some water. Need some hot
tea. I better not draw the short straw next time, damn it.
Need some hot tea with lemon, some honey. Yes.
You talk about needing a nappy nap. This guy needs a month off.
He didn't even want to wait for sentencing. He said, nope, just do it. Just do it. Guy, get me out of here.
Yes.
I don't need to come back with mitigating circumstances. Just do it, Judge. Get it over with.
Yeah, his throat's closing up on him.
Yeah.
Wait, I think they're back in the other thing.
Yep, they're back. They just showed up. Pulled in. Woo! Perfect timing.
Yes.
We're not even going to have like statements or anything? No victim impact? Nothing? Every courthouse just does it so different. It's so weird.
I know.
council approach, briefly.
No.
What do you say? I just missed it.
Council approach.
No. He says, I'm going to throw the book at this guy, so I'm going to need you to step out the way so it hits him only. It's a big book. It's a big book. It's going to be heavy. It's coming
he's
right.
saying, you know, I got a feeling this guy's going to jump up and run at me because he's
he's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it is or not, Jen.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. You said it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I didn't. They
I
haven't
think
mentioned
so.
it.
I'm pretty sure. Here he's
Heather,
thinking,
yeah, that'd be interesting. I'd love to know what the daughter thinks, honestly. Except for none of that evidence can come in.
well, she's only 8. Maybe, well, no,
never
she'd be 11 by now. So,
yeah.
You know, he's thinking, I bet the judge sees right through this. He sees that I did the right thing.
Yeah, I keep thinking that, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll hear from the state.
Thank you, Your Please, court. We're prepared for sentencing. So we're here for today. You've heard a long 2-week trial. You've heard the actions of the defendant. You've seen the extreme violence in this particular case. Calculated the premeditation. The jury's found him guilty. Your Honor, the state will be requesting a life sentence for the murder and for the very first charges. But before you switch over to the defense, I have Tina Parcell here who would like to address the court. She's the sister of Christina Parcell.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Parcell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will apologize in advance. I didn't expect to actually reach this point today. This is my second victim statement in 24 hours. Yesterday was reliving the 2 worst days of my life.
We don't like her.
Between hearing the step-by-step account of my sister's murder, Mr. Mello's 2 new charges, his bond hearing, and my niece being put into emergency protective care again. So I am exhausted and I'm going to do my best to
Why didn't
express
she go
myself
in your
appropriately.
care?
So with Your Honor's
Yeah, because Dad was arrested yesterday.
Right. She should have went.
leniency, just give me a bit of grace.
Oh, shut up
My
and start
understanding is
talking.
this conversation is with you. This isn't with the defendant. This is not with counsel. This is not with the gallery. So this is a conversation with you. And I've had 3 years to try to articulate how this has impacted me, and I still have yet to find the words, and it won't happen.
Then sit down and shut up.
So I've decided instead to talk about what logically should be taken into consideration for any sentencing, which is remorse, rehabilitation, and recidivism.
Wow. Nope, and nope.
This
Yeah.
defendant sat on that stand
That's true.
with full disregard for the authority of the law when it came to his actions outside of this courtroom, in blatant disregard for the authority of law inside this courtroom. He recounted step by step in excruciating detail everything he did. And if I may paraphrase the defense counsel's closing statement, did he cry? Did he shake?
That's what we said, Randy.
Did he look visibly
Yeah.
distressed?
Yep, we noticed all that. Yep.
He said the word repulsed, but did he once look repulsed
No.
No.
He said the word vomited. Did he ever once
Heather.
look nauseated
Nope.
as he described dragging my
Why
sister
can't I
through
brought
my
that up?
living room? Cold doesn't begin to describe the lack of emotion. And if I may be blunt, if we're going to argue somebody has to have malice and hate in their heart to be capable of murder, then one could also argue that anyone medically diagnosed as antisocial personality disorder is therefore not capable of committing murder. I think that is a logical fallacy, is asinine. In the fact that I'm tired, I will no longer go down that, but there has been no remorse once shown
What?
by this defendant in this courtroom. Without remorse, you cannot have rehabilitation. Rehabilitation requires acknowledgement that I have done a wrong, I have a debt to pay, and I can improve to become a better member of society. It begins with remorse. Without remorse, there is no rehabilitation. Without remorse, without rehabilitation, you have recidivism. This man, no, I'm sorry, this defendant wanted to kill someone. He joined the Marines, specifically the infantry.
Wow.
He wanted to kill someone. He was given a target on a silver platter. He was given an address, a date, a time,
Wow.
and he
Mm.
planned it
Damn.
because he knew that if he planned it just enough, he would never get caught. He planned it so much that he thought, well, even when I got caught, I got this. I can still get out of this.
Right, holding you.
Without remorse, without rehabilitation, any person that goes through that effort to commit a murder would absolutely do it again.
Yep.
To see if they could.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what we said. Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's going to do it again. I think 10 years from now, we're going to
You're
hear
looking at
about
either
it.
two options. Either he is a weak,
Yeah.
easily manipulated man who would kill anybody that anyone asked him to, or he's not a weak and easily manipulated man. And if that's the case, then he absolutely would do this again to see if he's smart enough this time, to see if he can beat it this time, because he has shown no respect for the law of this courtroom. The only thing that I will say about this situation overall is that all of these men did nothing but use my sister. John Mello used her to create a whole new family when he had a wife and children already.
Oh, dear.
Brad Post used her. This defendant used her. All of them used her for their own twisted personal gratification.
Wow.
He would do it again. Without remorse, without rehabilitation, you will have recidivism. Thank you, Your Honor.
And recidivism is the repeating the behavior.
Anybody else in the state?
That was well said.
Defense.
She's a pretty good speaker.
Yeah, she is.
Please, the court, Your Honor.
She practiced.
Presided over this trial. Your Honor is aware of the evidence that was presented at the trial. Your Honor is also aware of the evidence that was proffered. We do believe that could go to mitigation, so we would ask Your Honor to consider that very carefully. Zach has no prior criminal history, and he stands ready for sentencing. Your Honor, I would ask for Mr. David Hughes, Zach's father, to have the opportunity to address the court briefly.
Is that the state talking?
I
Why
can't
is this-
tell.
Why is the state so interested in mitigating factors, etc.? So weird.
Just stand right there.
By the way, this guy back here, I don't know if you can see him. Hang on, let me just real quick. This guy over here,
Yeah.
he's in. This guy,
Mm-hmm.
when this head is out of the way, he has the exact same face as Zachary. That's got to be a brother. Has to be.
Oh, I thought all his siblings were adopted.
Well,
Thank
he's
you, Your Honor,
got to
for
be
the
some relation. He looks exactly like.
Opportunity to speak a few words on my son's behalf. The trial is over. A verdict's been rendered, and we accept that. What I want to speak to, because I understand this is the sentencing phase of the trial, where you have some parameter of
Oh, okay. Hold on.
your sentence.
He had a biological brother.
Oh, okay. I bet you that's him. Then they look exactly alike.
My son is probably, in my lifetime, and I've run into some pretty amazing people, and this is going to be seen as a bias from the father, but he has got such a strong moral compass and fortitude and desire for the truth in his life than really anyone I've ever met. He actually eclipses a lot of those things that I aspire to myself. It's what makes his music so incredibly meaningful, because as a musician, and there are some world-class musicians sitting here today,
Well, maybe
colleagues of Zach.
piano in the prison.
What makes a musician's art come through is what's the essence of who they are. It's not something you can fake. When you hear it, you know it's a fake. When you hear music that causes people in a room to weep, you know it's coming from something inside that person that you cannot describe. Zach was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth. I want to tell you that. I taught all of my children, Zach being the oldest, the value of hard work. He might have been the only person at Juilliard to show up without manicured fingernails and calluses instead. He worked hard. I pushed him hard. Fathers and parents tend to do that with their firstborn child. Maybe I pushed him, a little hard at times, but it made him the man he is today. I want to address something, and Mr. Wilkins.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he wants to say it so bad.
Mm-hmm.
That Zach is a cold-blooded killer. I am sorry. Zach wrote his mother and I a letter delivered to us through his attorneys approximately a month ago. In that letter, he described basically what he did in that chair over there, only in a little more detail. Why he did what he had to do, what he felt he had to do. You heard him say in that chair, he wasn't going to go on a cruise ship to Bora Bora, where he was headed, and look at himself in the mirror at night after playing beautiful classical music for rich people. He couldn't do that. Zach has been brutally honest in his life. So much, sometimes to the detriment of his own career. Everybody in the piano world wants to be a soloist with an orchestra. But it's a very small amount of room on the head of that pin, and that's where he was headed. But he had people in his life, donors, rich benefactors, who made demands of him artistically in exchange for their financial benefit, and he walked away from it to the detriment of his own career. Why do I bring that up?
Right.
He has such a strong moral compass and a desire for the truth that sometimes he actually hurts himself. His friends here, all these people in this courtroom for the last 2 weeks, have been here day in, day out, some as far as from Seattle, Washington. They're here because they grew up with Zach in the music world, and they saw something in him they didn't see in anybody else. He has got a loyal circle of friends that I never had. I told my kids when they grew up, if you, at the end of your life, you end up with 2 or 3 people in your hand that are really there for you, that's the guy I want in the foxhole with me. Consider yourself lucky. Zach's got a dozen of those. Why? Bettina, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm not supposed to mention her name. I'm sorry. But I want you to know, Zach had felt compelled to do what he did because of what he would quote Edmund Burke on this. The only thing necessary for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing.
But he did evil, though.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he shouldn't have done something, but he didn't have to kill her.
His desire for the truth and
He took the law into his own hands.
truthful telling of what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he sat there and he didn't hold anything back that would benefit his portrayal to this court. He's just as brutally honest with himself as he is with
I don't
other
believe
people.
that.
He has
Maybe. I don't know.
no criminal record whatsoever before this event. The only thing I know of is an outstanding traffic ticket in Italy somehow he rang up when he was there with Mello. And several of the guards in the detention center, where he's been for 3 years, he's been an exemplary inmate, have told him that they were going to come to this trial to support him. When you gain the silent respect of law enforcement officers, they see something in you, they see it all. And they see a guy that's respectful for 3 years without a single incident. I think that counts for something. So I'm just here, I'll wrap it up. As you determine your sentencing, I would ask you to consider what type of man he is. And take that into consideration. I love my son. I'm proud of my son.
Oh,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you probably should have left that out.
I mean, yeah, probably would.
Your Honor, just for the purpose of the record, I don't, would Your Honor want to inquire Zach as to whether or not he wishes to speak?
That is up to you. Sorry.
Yes,
I thought that you had indicated that.
He does not wish to speak. I just want to put that on record.
Oh, he said no. I'm shocked. I
So you're
am.
not gonna say sorry? Like, you're not even going to say sorry. I've never understood that.
Neither.
Not even so much as, you know what? I shouldn't have taken someone else's life. No, nothing.
The fact that he decided to take John Mello down with him is, I don't know. It's stuck in my craw.
Well, and I don't know if he meant to do that or if that was just something he didn't think about. I don't know. He seems to have thought about everything else. So
Yeah. I mean, like, hey, I was offered $5,000 then $10,000, but I did it for
right,
free
he thought
because
that
I'm
was going
such
to
a
make
good
him.
guy.
He really thought that was going to make him look like a good guy.
Yeah.
Because look, I turned it down. Just nuts, man. Absolutely nuts.
Zachary David Hughes, indictment 2022 GS 2302-194, indictment for murder. You're to be committed to the State Department of Corrections for life. Indictment 2022 GS 2302-194. You're to be committed to the South Carolina Department of Corrections for 5 years. That is to run concurrent. Indictment 2024 GS 2305-425A for burglary first degree to run concurrent is for you to be committed to the South Carolina Department of Corrections for life. The other two indictments, 2024 GS 2305-413 for conspiracy to commit harassment second degree is 30 days time served. Indictment 2024 GS 2305-412, harassment second degree, 30 days time served. Be dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well,
That's it for that.
yeah, and in South Carolina, life is life.
And he's got 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
He got 2 life sentences in that. I didn't know he was facing 2. Well, I don't know that we were sure what he was facing at all.
No.
Damn.
Right, Holden. I don't think he can appeal. I mean, he admitted it.
On what grounds?
Yeah.
Whoops. They were supposed to be okay with this?
Right. I thought I was going to get away with it. I mean, just wow.
Yeah, each state is so different. It's
Yeah,
always
they
interesting
are.
to me.
Well, y'all, I can't believe it's over. I'm a
Yeah.
little sad.
Yeah.
All right, we ready?
Yeah, I was trying to get his brother on screen just so you could see what I'm talking about. People are
Oh,
shutting
okay.
it down, so I'm thinking they're going
I'll
to
add
move.
it back.
Okay.
Oh, yep, you're right. I seen it just then.
Yeah. Pull that in real
Yeah.
quick. And
It's in.
isn't that crazy? Look at him.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely his brother.
It's gotta be. Gotta be. All right. Anyways.
He looks so young. Of course, this guy's young. I don't know how old he is. But
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Zachary looks young.
yeah.
Whatever.
Me
All
too.
right.
I thought he would have stood up and said some things about the CP thing. That's what I assumed.
I know, like at that point, the trial's over, right? So shouldn't he be able to get up and say, "Judge,
Yes. So
you know why I did this. You know." I'm not saying you have to agree with it or something you would have done, but you know why I did what I did. I don't know. I don't. Maybe he figured that wouldn't get him anywhere.
Yeah, look, he gave up.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I'm going to go find something to eat. Thank y'all so much for hanging in here, and we'll be back soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.